The champagne bottle sat unopened on our anniversary table, condensation pooling beneath it like tears I refused to shed. 7 years. 7 years of marriage, and Marcus couldn't even pretend to care anymore. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. I don't know why you bothered with this charade, he said, not even looking up from his phone. His fingers moved rapidly across the screen, texting someone who clearly mattered more than I did. It's not like either of us believes in this anymore. I watched our twins, Emma and Ethan, peek around the corner of the dining room, their 5-year-old faces uncertain. They'd helped me set the table earlier, carefully arranging the roses, so proud of their contribution. Now their excitement had curdled into confusion. "Kids, go play upstairs," I said softly, keeping my voice steady. "Daddy and I need to talk." "But Mommy, we made—" Emma started. "Upstairs, now." I smiled at them, but it felt like cracking glass. "I'll come check on you in a bit." They scampered away, but I knew they'd be listening from the top of the stairs. They always did. Children are far more perceptive than adults give them credit for, soaking up every angry word, every cold silence, every moment their world fractures a little more. Marcus finally looked up, his expression annoyed. Was that really necessary? Making them leave? You tell me, Marcus. Is whatever you're doing on your phone more important than having dinner with your family on our anniversary? He had the audacity to look offended. Don't start with me, Rachel. I've had a long day at the firm. Some of us actually work for a living instead of playing house all day. Playing house. That's what he called it now. Not raising our children, not managing a household, not putting my own career on hold when he'd begged me to stay home after the twins were born, promising it would only be temporary, promising he'd support my return to architecture once they started school. That was 3 years ago. My portfolio gathered dust. My connections had moved on. My dreams had been neatly filed away in the storage unit, along with my drafting table and models. "I see," I said, my voice dangerously calm. "And here I thought we might actually celebrate today. Silly me. Celebrate what exactly?" Marcus stood up, pocketing his phone. "A marriage that's been dead for years? Face it, Rachel. We're only still together because divorce is expensive and messy." The words hit like physical blows, but I'd learned to absorb them without flinching. What Marcus didn't know was that for the past 6 months, I'd been documenting everything, every cruel comment, every dismissal, every time he chose his phone over his children, and I'd installed something else too, something he didn't know about. Small cameras, hidden throughout the house, voice activated, perfectly legal in our home, according to the lawyer I'd quietly consulted. After all, I was simply documenting my family's daily life, concerned about the children's well-being when both parents were present. The tiny lens hidden in the decorative bowl on the sideboard was recording everything right now. "Is that really how you feel?" I asked, picking up my wine glass. My hand was steady. I'd practiced this. "Don't act surprised. You know exactly how I feel. You've known for years." He moved toward the living room, clearly done with the conversation. "I'm going out. Don't wait up." "It's our anniversary, Marcus." "And?" He grabbed his coat from the rack. "What do you want, Rachel? You want me to pretend?" "Fine. Happy anniversary. There, feel better? Where are you going?" "None of your business." He was already halfway to the door. "Is it her?" He froze. For a moment, just a moment, I saw something flicker in his eyes. Guilt? Fear? It was gone too quickly to tell. "I don't know what you're talking about." Brianna from your office, the new associate. Is that who you're texting? The silence stretched between us like a chasm. Then he laughed, cold and bitter. You're paranoid, Rachel. This is exactly why I can't stand being here. You're suffocating. You're needy. You're... He stopped himself, but I could see the words hovering on his tongue. I'm what, Marcus? Say it. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, like this video, it means a lot to us. Now back to the story. You're just a burden. The words came out like venom. There! Are you happy now? You wanted to know how I feel? You're a burden to me, to the kids, to everyone. You contribute nothing. You do nothing. You are nothing. The camera was getting all of it. Every word, every sneer, every ounce of contempt dripping from his voice. From upstairs, I heard a small gasp. Emma. She'd heard everything. Something shifted in me then. Not heartbreak. I'd moved past that months ago. This was clarity. Cold, crystalline clarity. Thank you for your honesty, I said quietly. He blinked, surprised by my calm response. He'd expected tears. He'd wanted tears. That's what he'd been pushing for, the excuse he needed to storm out righteously angry, the injured party fleeing his hysterical wife. I'm done with this conversation, he said, recovering. I'll be back late. Or maybe I won't be back at all. We'll see. The door slammed behind him. I counted to 10, listening to his car start, listening to it pull away down our quiet suburban street. Then I went upstairs. Emma and Ethan were in Emma's room, huddled together on her bed. Their faces were streaked with tears. Mommy? Ethan's voice was small. Why did Daddy say those things? I sat down between them, pulling them close. Sometimes adults say things they don't mean when they're upset. But he sounded like he meant it, Emma whispered. He sounded like he hated you. Out of the mouths of babes. Listen to me, I said, making sure they could both see my face. No matter what happens between Daddy and me, it's not your fault, and we both love you very much. Do you understand? They nodded, but I could see the doubt in their eyes. They'd heard what I'd heard. They'd felt what I'd felt. How about we have our own anniversary celebration, I suggested, forcing brightness into my voice. Ice cream sundaes for dinner? That got small smiles. Children are resilient that way, able to find joy even in the wreckage of their parents' war. We went downstairs together, and I helped them build elaborate ice cream creations while I ordered pizza. We ate in front of the TV, something I usually didn't allow, watching their favorite animated movie. For a few hours, I could pretend everything was normal. But after I tucked them in, double-checking they were truly asleep this time, I went to my office, the small room off the kitchen that Marcus had long ago dismissed as my craft space. He had no idea what I actually did in here. I locked the door and booted up my laptop. The security software loaded, showing me feeds from all 6 cameras I'd installed over the past months. I backed up tonight's footage to 3 different locations, an encrypted cloud service, an external hard drive I kept in my safe deposit box, and a flash drive I would give to my lawyer tomorrow. Then I opened the folder marked Evidence. 6 months of documentation, photographs, text messages recovered from the cell phone bill showing hundreds of exchanges with Brianna Lockwood, mostly during work hours but plenty late at night too. Credit card statements showing expensive dinners at restaurants I'd never been to, hotel rooms charged to his personal card, gifts I'd never received, and the videos. So many videos. Marcus coming home at 2 a.m., drunk, yelling at me for questioning him. Marcus ignoring the children's request to play, scrolling through his phone instead. Marcus telling Emma she was too loud and annoying when she'd excitedly tried to show him a drawing. Marcus shoving past me in the kitchen hard enough that I'd stumbled, caught on camera from 2 angles. Marcus calling me worthless, useless, a drain on his success. I'd been married to an emotional abuser, and I'd been so deep in it that I hadn't fully recognized it until I started seeing it played back in high definition. My lawyer's name was Catherine Chen, and she was exactly the kind of person Marcus would underestimate. She was petite, soft-spoken, and had a gentle smile that made you want to trust her. She was also absolutely ruthless in the courtroom. I'd found her through a support group I'd joined online, a forum for women planning to leave their marriages. They'd called her the Velvet Hammer. Sweet on the surface, devastating when she struck. We'd been preparing for this for months, building the case, documenting everything, planning every move like a chess match. Tomorrow, I would move the first piece. The morning came too quickly. Marcus stumbled in around 3 a.m., reeking of perfume that wasn't mine and alcohol I could smell from across the bedroom. He collapsed into bed without a word. I lay awake, watching the ceiling, running through the plan again and again. At 7 a.m., I got up and made breakfast as usual. Pancakes, the kids' favorite. They came down rubbing sleepy eyes, and I could see them tense when they noticed Marcus at the table, nursing a coffee and staring at his phone. "Morning, guys," I said cheerfully. "Who wants chocolate chips in their pancakes?" "Me," they chorused, some of the tension leaving their shoulders. Marcus didn't look up. I made his breakfast too. Eggs and toast, just how he liked them. I set the plate in front of him without comment. "Thanks," he muttered, still not looking at me. After the kids left for the bus, I cleared the table while Marcus finished getting ready for work. He came downstairs in his expensive suit, the one I'd taken to the dry cleaners last week, carrying the briefcase I'd bought him for his birthday. "I have a meeting tonight," he said, adjusting his tie in the hallway mirror. "Don't wait up." "Another meeting." "Yes, Rachel, another meeting. Some of us have careers that matter." I nodded slowly. "When do you think you'll be home?" "Does it matter?" "The kids ask about you." "The kids are fine. Stop being so dramatic." He grabbed his keys. "I'll be home when I'm home." After his car disappeared down the street, I took a deep breath and picked up my phone. "Catherine, it's Rachel Morrison. I'm ready to proceed." "Are you absolutely sure?" Her voice was gentle but firm. "Once we file, there's no going back. He'll know, and he'll fight." "I'm sure." "Okay. Come to my office at 2. Bring everything we discussed. We'll file the paperwork today." "There's one more thing," I said. "Last night, he said some things. On camera. I have it all recorded." "What kind of things?" I told her. Every word. The burden comment. The contempt. All of it. The silence on the other end lasted long enough that I thought we'd been disconnected. "Rachel," Catherine finally said, her voice different now, harder. "That's exactly what we needed. That's going to be very, very useful." At exactly 2 p.m., I walked into Catherine's office with a folder containing 6 months of evidence. She reviewed everything methodically, occasionally making notes, her expression growing more serious with each page. "This is comprehensive," she said finally. "Extremely comprehensive. He has no idea you've been documenting, does he?" "None." "Good. Here's what's going to happen. We'll file for divorce today, citing irreconcilable differences and requesting full custody of the children with supervised visitation for him." "Supervised? Will that actually work?" "With this evidence? Yes. We can demonstrate a pattern of emotional abuse toward you and neglect of the children. The videos alone are damaging. His words last night are devastating. No judge wants to place children in the unsupervised care of someone who calls their mother a burden in front of them. He'll fight it. Let him. Every time he fights, we present more evidence. Every time he lies, we prove he's lying. We have him on video contradicting whatever story he tries to tell. And if he tries to claim you're an unfit mother, Catherine smiled that gentle, dangerous smile. We have videos of you caring for the children while he ignores them. We have evidence of you managing the household while he contributes nothing but money he's also spending on another woman. You found proof about Brianna, hotel keycard records, security footage from the hotel lobby, credit card receipts that match the dates and times of text messages, and she pulled out another document, a very interesting affidavit from a former colleague of his who's willing to testify about office affairs being an open secret at his firm. I felt something unfamiliar rising in my chest. Hope, maybe, or justice. When will he be served? The process server will deliver the papers to his office tomorrow at noon. Very public. Very embarrassing. He'll have 20 days to respond. He's going to be furious. Let him be furious. Just make sure you're never alone with him after he's served. Always have witnesses. Keep your phone on you. Keep recording. Because he's going to try to intimidate you, Rachel. Men like Marcus always do when they realize they're losing control. She was right. I knew she was right. What do I tell the kids? Only what they need to know, that Mommy and Daddy are going to live separately for a while, that it's not their fault, that they're safe. Don't badmouth him to them, no matter what he says to you. The cameras will show you being the mature parent. That night, I made the kids' favorite dinner, spaghetti and meatballs. We ate together at the table, and I helped them with their homework. We played games. I read them extra stories at bedtime. Marcus came home at midnight. I pretended to be asleep. The next day, I dropped the kids at school and then drove to my mother's house 3 towns over. I needed to prepare her for what was coming. "Sweetheart," Mom said, pouring us tea in her sunny kitchen. "I've been waiting for you to say you were leaving him for 2 years. I blinked. You knew? A mother knows. I've seen how he treats you, how he talks to you, how he's slowly crushed every bit of light you used to have." She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "I'm proud of you for finally choosing yourself and those babies. I'm scared. Good. Fear keeps you careful, but don't let it keep you paralyzed. You're doing the right thing." At 12:15, my phone buzzed. Catherine. Papers served. He did not take it well. At 12:47, my phone rang. Marcus. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again, and again, and again. I turned off the ringer and watched the missed calls pile up. 15, 20, 25. Then the texts started. "What the hell is this? You filed for divorce." "Answer your phone. Where are the kids? You think you can just take my children? This is insane." "Rachel, call me right now. We need to talk. You're being hysterical. This is exactly why I can't deal with you. You're crazy, you know that? Absolutely crazy. I'm going to fight this. You won't win. I'll make sure of it. I took screenshots of every message. More evidence." At 3 p.m., I picked up the kids from school as usual. At 3:30, my phone rang again. This time, I answered. I was in my car with the kids in the back seat, and I had it on speaker and recording. "Rachel." His voice was dangerously calm. "What do you think you're doing?" "Emma, Ethan, headphones on, please. Listen to your music." They obeyed, and I watched in the rearview mirror to make sure the sound was up. "I'm protecting my children, Marcus." "Protecting them? From what? From their father? From a man who calls their mother a burden. From a man who ignores them. From a man who's having an affair." You can't prove any of that. Actually, I can. I have proof of everything, Marcus. Every cruel word, every late night, every lie, all of it. The silence stretched. Then, you've been spying on me? I've been documenting my life. Our children's life. There's nothing illegal about that. You manipulative, he caught himself. He was learning. We need to talk, face to face. All communication goes through my attorney now. You have her information in the papers. Rachel, come on. Don't do this. We can work this out. The whiplash was stunning, from rage to pleading in seconds. No, Marcus, we can't. I'm done. Think about the kids. Think about what this will do to them. I have been thinking about the kids. I've been thinking about what it does to them to hear their father call their mother worthless, to see him ignore them, to watch our marriage crumble while you pretend everything is fine. I have it on video, Marcus. Every word from our anniversary, every moment. Would you like me to play it for you? Another long silence. You recorded us? In our own home? I documented concerning behavior in a shared space. Again, perfectly legal, and very, very revealing. You're going to regret this. The cold fury was back. You think you can take my kids? You think any judge will believe your lies? They're not lies. They're videos. They're text messages. They're financial records. They're witness statements. They're the truth, Marcus. And the truth is going to cost you. I'll see you in court. He hung up. I sat in the car for a moment, hands shaking, adrenaline coursing through me. Then I stopped the recording and sent it to Catherine. Her response came immediately. Perfect. Keep doing exactly what you're doing. That evening, I made dinner for the kids and helped them with baths and bedtime. I was reading Emma her story when the doorbell rang. Stay here, sweetheart. I'll be right back. Through the window, I could see Marcus's car in the driveway. He was leaning on the doorbell. I pulled out my phone and started recording before I opened the door, but only after texting my neighbor Sarah to come over immediately. Marcus, you need to leave. This is my house. Actually, it's the marital residence, and I have every right to be here. You need to leave before I call the police. Call them. I'm not going anywhere. He tried to push past me. I stood my ground. You're not coming in. The kids are asleep. They're my kids too, and you'll see them according to whatever custody arrangement the court decides. Until then, you need to leave. Sarah came hurrying across the lawn, phone already out. Rachel, is everything okay? Marcus turned on her. This is none of your business, Sarah. Actually, Sarah said calmly, I'm a witness to whatever happens here, and I'm calling 911 if you don't leave immediately. The police arrived 12 minutes later. By then, Marcus had been shouting for 10 of those minutes while Sarah and I stood behind the locked door, recording everything. The officers were professional and kind. They explained to Marcus that he needed to leave and that any violations of that instruction could result in a restraining order. They walked him to his car and waited while he drove away. Ma'am, one of the officers said to me, you should file a report, just to have it on record. I will. Thank you. After they left, Sarah made me tea while I shook with delayed fear. That man is dangerous, she said quietly. I've watched him for years, but tonight, I saw something scary in his eyes. I know, that's why I'm leaving. Good. You need anything at all, you call me, day or night. I filed for a restraining order the next morning. Catherine fast-tracked it through a judge she knew, and by 5 p.m., Marcus had been officially ordered to stay at least 500 feet away from me and the children except during court-ordered supervised visits. He violated it within 3 hours. I was pulling into my driveway when I saw his car parked down the street. I called 911 immediately and didn't get out of my car until the police arrived. This time, he spent the night in jail. Catherine called me the next morning. He posted bail, but he's furious, and he's hired Bradley Westcott. Who's that? The nastiest divorce attorney in the state. Expensive, aggressive, and willing to do anything to win. This just got a lot more complicated. But we have all the evidence. Evidence is only as good as the story you can tell with it. Westcott is going to paint you as an obsessive, controlling wife who drove your husband away with constant surveillance and manipulation. He's going to claim you're using the children as weapons, and he's going to try to get everything you recorded thrown out. My stomach dropped. Can he do that? He can try. But Rachel, this is what I do, and I'm very good at it. Trust me. The preliminary hearing was scheduled for 3 weeks later. 3 weeks of Marcus's lawyers filing motion after motion, trying to get visitation expanded, trying to get the restraining order lifted, trying to discredit every piece of evidence. Catherine countered every move. She was brilliant, weaving together the evidence into a narrative so clear, so devastating, that even Marcus's expensive lawyer couldn't fully dismantle it. But it was the video from our anniversary that became the centerpiece. The moment Catherine described it in her motion, I knew it would be the nuclear weapon in our custody battle. "I'm going to play it in court," Catherine told me in a prep session. "The judge needs to see exactly who Marcus is when he thinks no one important is watching." "Will that hurt the kids, knowing their father said those things?" "The kids already heard him say those things, Rachel. They were there. What we're doing now is making sure a judge hears it too, so those children are protected." The day of the hearing arrived. I dressed carefully, conservative, professional, but not too formal. Nothing that could be construed as trying to manipulate appearances. Marcus arrived with Bradley Westcott, both in expensive suits, both projecting confidence. We sat on opposite sides of the courtroom. He didn't look at me once. The judge, Honorable Diana Martinez, was in her 60s with steel gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. I'd looked her up. She had a reputation for being fair but taking no nonsense, and she particularly hated parental alienation and abuse. Catherine and Westcott made their opening statements. Westcott painted a picture of a dedicated father and successful professional who was being punished by a vindictive wife. Catherine painted a picture of an emotionally abusive husband who'd neglected his family and was now angry that he'd been caught. Then came the evidence. Catherine started with the financial records showing the affair expenses, then the text messages, then the videos of Marcus ignoring the children. Westcott tried to object, tried to claim invasion of privacy, tried every procedural maneuver he could think of. Judge Martinez shot them all down. This evidence was gathered legally in the marital home. Continue, Ms. Chen. Catherine nodded and picked up a remote. Your Honor, I'd now like to play a video from the Morrisons' 7th wedding anniversary. 3 weeks ago. This video was recorded on the marital home security system with audio. I should warn you that the language is quite harsh, and while the children are not visible in this clip, they were present in the home and, according to Mrs. Morrison's testimony, overheard what was said. She pressed play. The courtroom filled with Marcus's voice. You're just a burden. There. Are you happy now? You wanted to know how I feel? You're a burden. To me, to the kids, to everyone. You contribute nothing. You do nothing. You are nothing. The video showed me standing there calm, while Marcus's face twisted with contempt. The courtroom was absolutely silent when it ended. Judge Martinez's expression had turned to stone. Mr. Westcott, she said quietly, does your client deny that this is his voice saying these things? Westcott looked like he'd swallowed glass. Your Honor, everyone says things they regret in the heat of... I asked if he denies it's his voice. No, Your Honor, but context is... context. Judge Martinez looked at Marcus for the first time. Mr. Morrison, your wife prepared an anniversary dinner. You called her a burden in front of your children and then left to meet your mistress. Where exactly is the context that makes that acceptable? Marcus opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. I was under a lot of stress. Stop talking, Mr. Morrison. The judge turned to Catherine. Ms. Chen, I've seen enough. Here's my preliminary ruling. Judge Martinez looked down at the papers before her, then back at Marcus with an expression that could freeze fire. Here's my preliminary ruling, she said, her voice cutting through the tension like a blade. Mrs. Morrison is granted temporary full custody of the minor children. Mr. Morrison will have supervised visitation only 2 hours per week at an approved facility with a court-appointed supervisor present. Your Honor. Westcott stood up quickly. I'm not finished, Mr. Westcott. Sit down. He sat. Furthermore, Mr. Morrison is ordered to continue paying all marital expenses, including the mortgage, utilities, and the children's needs. He will also begin paying temporary spousal support of $5,000 per month, effective immediately. The restraining order remains in full effect. Any violations will result in immediate arrest and potential loss of all visitation rights. Marcus's face had gone from red to white. You can't. I can, and I have. This is a preliminary ruling, Mr. Morrison. The final hearing is scheduled for 8 weeks from now. I strongly suggest you use that time to reflect on your behavior and priorities. This court takes a very dim view of parents who verbally abuse the other parent in front of minor children. Court is adjourned. The gavel came down like thunder. I sat there shaking as Catherine gathered her papers. Across the aisle, Westcott was having an intense, whispered conversation with Marcus, who looked like he wanted to flip the table. Don't react, Catherine murmured to me. Stand up slowly, and we'll walk out together. Don't look at him. We made it to the hallway before I started crying. Not sad tears, relief. Pure, overwhelming relief. You did it, I whispered. We're not done yet, Catherine said, but she was smiling. That was just round 1. But yes, that went very well. Judge Martinez clearly saw through Westcott's performance. That video was devastating. What happens now? Now we prepare for the final hearing. He's going to come at us with everything he has. Westcott will try to paint you as manipulative, try to find any dirt he can. Be prepared for private investigators, for people asking your friends questions, for every aspect of your life to be examined. I have nothing to hide. Good, because they're going to look anyway. The next 8 weeks were the longest of my life. Marcus's legal team did exactly what Catherine predicted. They went scorched earth. Private investigators followed me. They interviewed my neighbors, my friends from the PTA, even tried to talk to Emma's kindergarten teacher until the school shut that down. They found nothing because there was nothing to find. I was exactly what I appeared to be, a devoted mother who'd been in an emotionally abusive marriage and had finally found the courage to leave. But Marcus's supervised visitations were revealing in their own way. The court had appointed a social worker named Mrs. Patricia Holloway to supervise his time with the kids. She was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and the air of someone who'd seen everything and couldn't be fooled. After the first visit, she called Catherine. Ms. Chen, I think you should know that Mr. Morrison spent most of the 2-hour visit on his phone. The children tried repeatedly to engage him in the activities I'd prepared, but he was distracted and dismissive. At one point, his daughter asked him to help her with a puzzle, and he told her he was busy with important work. Catherine was silent for a moment. Would you be willing to include that in your report to the court? I'm required to include all observations in my report, and Ms. Chen, I've been doing this for 23 years. I know the difference between a parent who's nervous in a new situation and a parent who fundamentally doesn't prioritize their children. Mr. Morrison is the latter. The second visit was worse. Marcus tried to grill the kids about me, where I went, who I saw, what I talked about on the phone. Emma became upset and asked to leave early. Mrs. Holloway allowed it and documented everything. By the third visit, Ethan asked me beforehand if he had to go. Do you not want to see Daddy? I asked carefully, keeping my voice neutral. He's always mad, Ethan said quietly, and he doesn't play with us. He just asks questions about you and then gets mad when we don't know the answers. I held him close, fury building in my chest. I'll talk to my lawyer, okay? But remember, whatever happens between Daddy and me, it's not your fault. Catherine filed a motion to have the visits reduced to once per week based on Mrs. Holloway's reports and the children's distress. Judge Martinez granted it immediately. Westcott filed a counter motion claiming I was alienating the children. Catherine responded with Mrs. Holloway's detailed reports and the videos from the home showing me never speaking negatively about Marcus in front of the kids. Meanwhile, I was rebuilding my life piece by piece. I'd contacted my old firm, the architecture company where I'd worked before. The twins were born. My former mentor, David Chen, was now a partner. When I explained my situation, he offered me a part-time consulting position that I could do mostly from home. Your talent didn't disappear just because you took time off to raise kids, David said. We've got 3 projects right now that could use your eye. Interested? I was more than interested. For the first time in years, I was using my brain for something other than grocery lists and carpool schedules. I was designing again, creating, contributing, and getting paid for it. Money that was mine, that I'd earned, that gave me independence. Marcus found out through the financial discovery process. His response came through Westcott in a motion claiming I'd been lying about being unemployed and that my spousal support should be eliminated. Catherine's response was surgical. She provided documentation showing that I'd only just started working part-time, that my income was a fraction of Marcus's, and that I'd been unemployed for 3 years at Marcus's insistence, backed up by emails from when the twins were born where Marcus had explicitly asked me to stay home. He's making this too easy, Catherine told me after the motion was denied. Every time he tries to make you look bad, he just proves our case. He can't help himself. The pattern continued. Marcus would make an aggressive move. Catherine would counter with evidence that made him look worse, and Judge Martinez would rule in our favor. It was like watching someone dig their own grave deeper with each shovel of dirt. But the real turning point came 6 weeks before the final hearing. I was picking up the kids from school when I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Mrs. Morrison, this is Brianna Lockwood. I nearly dropped the phone. The mistress. The woman Marcus had been with on our anniversary. I don't think we have anything to discuss, I said, keeping my voice level. Please, just hear me out. I didn't know he was married when we started seeing each other. He told me he was divorced. I only found out the truth when he was served papers at the office. I pulled over into a parking lot. Why are you calling me? Because I've been seeing the real Marcus these past few weeks, and I'm horrified. He talks about you like you're nothing, like you never mattered. And he barely mentions his kids except to complain about the custody arrangement. I'm sorry, but I still don't understand why you're telling me this. Because I recorded one of our conversations last week. He was drunk and angry about the court rulings, and he said things, really terrible things, about what he planned to do to make you pay, about how he was going to destroy you in court by any means necessary, about how he'd lie if he had to. My heart started racing. What exactly did he say? Can I send you the audio file? I think you should have it. I ended things with him after that conversation. He scared me, and I feel terrible about my part in all of this. I gave her my email address. 5 minutes later, I was sitting in my car listening to Marcus's voice, slurred with alcohol and venom, laying out his plans to fabricate evidence against me, to coach the kids on what to say, to paint me as an unfit mother. She wants to play hardball? I'll show her hardball. I'll make sure she never sees those kids again. I'll take everything from her like she's trying to take everything from me. I forwarded the recording to Catherine immediately. Her response, "Holy shit. This is gold. Bringing you in tomorrow to discuss strategy." At Catherine's office the next morning, we listened to the full recording. It was 37 minutes of Marcus revealing himself completely, his contempt for me, his manipulation of the legal system, his plans to commit perjury, his complete disregard for what was best for the children. "Can we use this in court?" I asked. "Absolutely. Brianna recorded a conversation she was part of. That's legal, and it goes directly to his credibility as a witness. Westcott is going to have a heart attack when we spring this. Should we tell them we have it beforehand?" Catherine smiled that dangerous smile. "No. We're going to save this for the final hearing. Let Marcus testify first. Let him lie under oath. Then we'll play this and watch his entire case collapse." The next 4 weeks crawled by. Marcus's supervised visits became increasingly tense. Mrs. Holloway's reports documented his frustration, his barely controlled anger, his failure to engage meaningfully with the children. Emma started having nightmares. Ethan became clingy. Our family therapist, Dr. Sarah Mitchell, documented how the children's anxiety spiked on visitation days and how they'd become fearful of their father's reactions. I hated what this was doing to them. But I also knew that protecting them meant fighting this battle now, completely, so they wouldn't spend their childhood walking on eggshells around an abusive parent. Finally, the day of the final hearing arrived. I dressed in a simple navy dress, minimal jewelry, hair pulled back. Professional but not flashy. A mother fighting for her children, not performing for the cameras. The courtroom was more crowded this time. Marcus's parents were there glaring at me. My mother sat behind me, steady and supportive. Mrs. Holloway was present to testify, Dr. Mitchell as well. Judge Martinez took the bench and surveyed the room with those sharp eyes. "We're here for the final hearing in Morrison versus Morrison. Mr. Westcott, you may call your first witness." Marcus took the stand. Westcott led him through a carefully scripted testimony. Marcus presented himself as a devoted father who'd made mistakes but loved his children deeply. He admitted to the affair, claiming it was a symptom of a dead marriage. He apologized for the words he'd said on our anniversary, calling them a momentary loss of control that didn't reflect his true feelings. He was smooth, practiced, almost believable. Then Catherine stood up for cross-examination. "Mr. Morrison, you testified that you love your children deeply. Is that correct?" "Yes, absolutely." "How many supervised visits have you had with them since the preliminary hearing?" 8 visits. "And according to the supervisor's reports, how many of those visits did you spend primarily on your phone rather than engaging with your children?" Marcus shifted uncomfortably. "I had some work emergencies. 6 out of 8 visits, Mr. Morrison. That's what Mrs. Holloway's reports show. Does that sound like the behavior of a devoted father? I provide for my family. Sometimes that means taking calls. During your 2 hours per week with your children, you couldn't put your phone away for 2 hours. It's more complicated than that. Catherine pulled out a document. Let's talk about complicated. During your marriage, how often did you arrive home after the children were asleep? I don't know. I worked long hours. Mrs. Morrison kept a calendar. Would you like me to tell you? An average of 4 nights per week. And on weekends, how much time did you spend with the children? I spent time with them. We have video evidence showing that on weekends when you were home, you spent an average of less than 30 minutes per day interacting with your children. Does that number sound accurate? Marcus's jaw clenched. I was tired from working all week. To support your family, yes. You've mentioned that several times. Tell me, did you consider spending money on your mistress to be part of supporting your family? Westcott shot to his feet. Objection. Relevance? Your Honor, it goes to Mr. Morrison's credibility and priorities, Catherine said smoothly. Overruled. Answer the question, Mr. Morrison. That was a mistake. A mistake that cost over $30,000 in 6 months. Hotel rooms, dinners, gifts. $30,000 you could have used for your children's college funds or family vacations. Instead, you spent it on an affair. I made bad choices. Yes, you did. Let's talk about another bad choice. On your anniversary, you called your wife a burden. You said she contributed nothing, did nothing, was nothing. Were those your honest feelings? I was angry. Were those your honest feelings, Mr. Morrison? Yes or no? The courtroom was silent. Marcus looked at Westcott, who couldn't help him. In that moment, yes. And when you said those things, where were your children? Upstairs. Could they hear you? I don't know. They could. They did. We have Emma's testimony on that. Your 5-year-old daughter heard you call her mother worthless. How do you think that made her feel? I never meant for them to hear, but they did. And now your daughter has nightmares. Your son is afraid of you. Dr. Mitchell will testify to that. Is that the outcome of deep parental love, Mr. Morrison? He had no answer. Catherine let the silence stretch. Then, no further questions. Westcott tried to rehabilitate him on redirect, but the damage was done. Marcus stepped down looking deflated. Mrs. Holloway testified next, laying out in clinical detail Marcus's failures during supervised visits. Dr. Mitchell followed, describing the children's anxiety and fear. Every word built the case against him. Then Catherine called me to the stand. Westcott came at me hard, trying to paint me as controlling, as vindictive, as using the children as weapons. But Catherine had prepared me well. I stayed calm, answered directly, and never took the bait. Mrs. Morrison, Westcott asked, isn't it true that you installed hidden cameras specifically to spy on my client? I installed cameras to document concerning behavior in our home. My husband's increasing hostility and neglect of our children worried me. I wanted evidence of what was happening so I could make informed decisions about our family's safety. You recorded him without his knowledge, in our shared home, which is legal. I wasn't trying to catch him in anything. I was documenting our daily life. You expect this court to believe you weren't trying to build a case against him? I was building a case for protecting my children. If that meant documenting their father's behavior, then yes, I was building a case. When I stepped down, Catherine gave me a small nod. I'd done well. Then came the moment I'd been waiting for. Your Honor, Catherine said, I have one final piece of evidence to present. It's a recording made 3 weeks ago between Mr. Morrison and Ms. Brianna Lockwood, the woman with whom he had an affair. Westcott's head snapped up. Objection! We were not provided with this in discovery. Because we only obtained it 2 weeks ago, Your Honor, and we notified Mr. Westcott's office immediately upon receipt. The recording was legally made by Ms. Lockwood, who was a participant in the conversation. I'll allow it. Proceed. Catherine played the audio. Marcus's voice filled the courtroom, drunk and vindictive, laying out his plans to lie, to manipulate, to destroy me by any means necessary. His words about the children were particularly damning. He called them leverage and useful for sympathy. I watched Marcus's face drain of color. Westcott looked like he'd been punched. Judge Martinez's expression was carved from ice. When the recording ended, the silence was deafening. Mr. Morrison, Judge Martinez said quietly, would you like to explain what we just heard? Marcus opened his mouth. No words came out. That's what I thought. Mr. Westcott, does your client have anything to add? Westcott stood slowly. Your Honor, I'd like to request a brief recess to consult with my client. Denied. We're done here. I'm ready to issue my final ruling. This was it. The moment everything had been building toward. Judge Martinez looked directly at Marcus. Mr. Morrison, I've been a family court judge for 18 years. In that time, I've seen parents at their worst. Addicted, abusive, neglectful. But I've rarely seen someone as fundamentally unsuited for custody as you've proven yourself to be. You verbally abused your wife. You neglected your children. You had an affair and spent family resources on it. You violated a restraining order twice. During supervised visits, you've shown more interest in your phone than your kids. And then, as if all that wasn't enough, you planned to commit perjury in my courtroom to destroy the mother of your children. Here's my ruling. Mrs. Morrison is granted full legal and physical custody of the minor children. Mr. Morrison will have supervised visitation only once per month, contingent on completion of anger management classes and parenting classes. He will pay child support of $3,000 per month and spousal support of $5,000 per month for 5 years, decreasing as Mrs. Morrison's income increases. The marital home goes to Mrs. Morrison. Mr. Morrison will have 60 days to remove his personal possessions. All joint accounts will be divided 50-50, with the exception that Mrs. Morrison will receive 75% of the liquid assets to compensate for the $30,000 Mr. Morrison spent on his affair. Furthermore, Mr. Morrison is ordered to have no direct contact with Mrs. Morrison except through attorneys or a court-approved co-parenting app. All communication must be about the children only. This ruling is final. If Mr. Morrison wishes to appeal, he may do so, but this custody arrangement remains in effect during any appeal process. Court is adjourned. The gavel came down. I sat there, stunned. I'd won. Not just partially, completely. Catherine leaned over. We did it. Full custody. That's as good as it gets. Across the aisle, Marcus was shouting at Westcott, who was trying to calm him down. Security was moving toward them. My mother's hand squeezed my shoulder. Let's get you out of here! We left through a side exit, avoiding the chaos. In the parking lot, I finally let myself break down, sobbing into my mother's shoulder. It's over, Mom whispered. You're safe. The kids are safe. It's over. That evening, I sat down with Emma and Ethan. They'd been with my mother during the hearing, playing in the park, protected from the ugliness of the courtroom. I need to talk to you both about something important, I said, gathering them close on the couch. Is it about Daddy? Emma asked, her voice small. Yes, sweetheart. The judge made some decisions today about where you'll live and when you'll see Daddy. Do we have to go back to those visits? Ethan asked. With the lady watching? Not as often, no. And only if you want to. If you don't feel comfortable, you can tell me, and we'll talk to the judge about it. But you'll always live here with me. This is your home. Forever? Emma's eyes were wide. Forever. They both hugged me tight, and I felt something in my chest unlock. Relief, safety, hope. Over the next few months, life slowly normalized. I increased my hours at the architecture firm. The kids started therapy to process everything they'd been through. We established new routines, new traditions, new memories that weren't tainted by walking on eggshells around Marcus. Marcus completed his required classes, but showed little interest in rebuilding his relationship with the children. His monthly visits were awkward and stilted. Eventually, he started canceling them, too busy with his new life, his new girlfriend, his new priorities. The kids noticed, but seemed almost relieved. Is it okay that I don't miss Daddy very much? Emma asked me one night during bedtime stories. Sweetheart, whatever you feel is okay. You don't have to feel anything you don't feel. I think I miss the daddy I wanted him to be, not the daddy he actually was. She was 6 years old and already wiser than I'd been at 32. A year after the divorce was finalized, I was promoted to senior architect at the firm. I designed a community center that won an award. I bought out Marcus's portion of the house, making it truly mine. I watched my children flourish in the stability and peace we'd built. One evening, I was tucking in Ethan when he said, Mom, you know what Ms. Henderson said in class today? What's that, buddy? She said families come in all different shapes, and that the most important thing is that people love each other and take care of each other. Ms. Henderson is very smart. I think we're a good family, just the 3 of us, and Grandma. I think so too. After he fell asleep, I went to my office and pulled out the flash drive containing all the recordings from that terrible year. I'd kept copies, of course, safely stored away in case Marcus ever tried to revisit custody. But I didn't need to watch them anymore. I knew how that story ended. It ended with me standing in a courtroom, hearing a judge validate everything I'd known in my heart, that I was a good mother, that I deserved respect, that my children deserved safety. It ended with Marcus's words, "You're just a burden," echoing in a courtroom and costing him everything he'd taken for granted. It ended with me and my children, safe and whole and free. Sometimes justice isn't instant. Sometimes it requires patience, documentation, strategy, and faith that the truth will eventually win out. But when it does, when you've fought the battle correctly and ethically and completely, the victory isn't just about winning. It's about reclaiming yourself, your dignity, your future. I thought about that night on our anniversary, standing in my kitchen while Marcus hurled insults at me. That woman who'd stood there silently, absorbing his cruelty, had been planning even then, building evidence, preparing for this exact outcome. She'd been so much stronger than she'd known. I was her, a year later, stronger still, wiser, free, and my children, sleeping peacefully down the hall, would grow up knowing that their mother had fought for them, that she'd stood up to abuse, that she'd chosen their well-being over a comfortable lie. That was the legacy I wanted to leave them. Not the money or the house or the legal victory, but the knowledge that when someone treats you as less than you are, you don't have to accept it. You document it, you build your case, and you fight back. Not with cruelty, but with truth. Marcus had called me a burden. The court had called me a survivor. History would call me the woman who refused to stay silent. And my children? They would simply call me Mom, the good one, the safe one, the one who stayed. 6 months later, I got word through Catherine that Marcus was engaged to someone new. I felt nothing but a distant sort of pity for her and hope that she'd see the warning signs I'd missed. But that wasn't my story anymore. My story was the one I was writing now, every day, in a house filled with laughter instead of tension, in a career I'd rebuilt from the ashes, in children who no longer flinched when adults raised their voices. Sometimes late at night, I'd remember standing at that table with the unopened champagne, absorbing Marcus's cruelty while the camera recorded everything. I'd felt so small in that moment. But I'd also felt determined, and determination, it turned out, was more powerful than contempt. The anniversary that had nearly broken me had become the evidence that saved me, and Marcus's greatest weapon, his words, had become his ultimate downfall. Poetic justice, Catherine had called it. I called it survival, and I called it victory. The end epilogue. 2 years later, the community center I designed opened on a bright Saturday morning. Emma and Ethan ran through its halls, marveling at the art studio, the gymnasium, the library I'd fought to include in the plans. "You made this, Mom?" Emma asked, awestruck. "I did, baby, with a whole team of people." "It's amazing." It was. Not just the building, though I was proud of that, but what it represented. Proof that I hadn't just survived Marcus. I'd thrived. My phone buzzed. A text from Catherine. Heard about the ribbon cutting. "Congratulations. You deserve it." I smiled and typed back. "Thanks for everything. For fighting for me when I couldn't fight for myself." Her response came quickly. "You were always fighting, Rachel. I just gave you the weapons." I looked up at the building, at my children playing, at the community members starting to arrive for the celebration. Catherine was right. I'd been fighting all along, and I'd won. Not just in court, but in life. I was no longer the woman who'd stood silently while her husband called her worthless. I was the woman who documented it, prosecuted it, and transcended it. I was free. And freedom, I'd learned, wasn't just about leaving. It was about building something better in the space where pain used to be. This community center, my career, my relationship with my children, my sense of self, all of it built on the ashes of a marriage that had tried to consume me. Marcus had called me a burden, but I'd carried myself and my children to safety. And that made me anything but. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.